All right with the hood news. Is there someplace you'd rather talk rather than outside, or?
Yeah, I think a good backdrop would be the LSPD title up there. Let's come inside.
Oh, thank you.
Appreciate it. That way you know who you're talking to, I guess.
I'm Mr. Hanson. First of all, I want to thank you so much for your time joining us today for this interview. Is it okay if I asked, what department you're associated with, or?
Yeah, that's fine. It's
Well,
going to be the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Office.
Los Angeles County. All right, perfect. So, I did want to ask a few questions regarding the crime world, more specifically the organizations of crime. I understand that, according to the statistical crime rate, most of the crime is committed publicly by the street gangs, red, blues, orange, greens, whatever. What I don't hear a lot about is the secrets of the crime organization world. I mean, the cartels, the mafias, all those sort of things. I mean, is there anything of importance to, let's say, I hear the name, the Lopez organization. I mean, do you have any comments to make about them?
Well, the Lopez organization, it just so happens that myself and a team of individuals were working an incident just recently on that particular organization. And while I can't really go into too much detail about it, I will say that one of their members, a high ranking member, is probably about to catch a first degree murder warrant after we've got enough evidence to charge them with first degree intentional murder. And actually, it was an officer, so it's going to be first degree capital murder. They're a pretty dangerous group, from what I understand. And we've received a few tips from some informants, and that's who was able to end up giving us the evidence that we needed. And we should be making an arrest shortly, hopefully, within the next few weeks.
And so, do you believe that the Lopez organization is a force to be reckoned with on the citizens of San Andreas?
Well, I would say so. There was an incident during an attempted apprehension where a few officers were shot at and injured and killed. We had one killed and a few injured. So I'd say they're somewhat of a force anyway.
And I understand that I know there's been some rumors going around regarding the Maravilla Mafia and the Lopez organization. What can you tell us about those two organizations, and their interactions, their copulations?
Well, without going into specifics, I will say they probably don't get along very well. It seems to me like there's some sort of disagreement between the both of them. And I won't describe the sources that have told me that, but they don't get along from what I can tell. They're
That
probably they're pretty opposing forces, I'd say.
let's say the Maravilla Mafia. I mean, as much as I hear about the Lopez organization, I don't really hear much about the Maravilla Mafia just as much. I mean, I hear more about Nova Six and those kind of organizations more than Maravilla on the as a civilian. I mean, do you also believe that they may be a threat to civilian life and just the well-being of citizens of San Andreas?
I would say that the Maravilla Mafia poses, although they're more quiet about it, they pose more of a threat from the findings that I've made as well as my team. I would say that they pose more of a threat to the general public than the Lopez family does. That may sound kind of shocking. I don't know what you know about these particular groups.
Well, I did hear the recent destruction.
Bless you.
Thank you.
I did hear the recent destruction about the Belmont. I know apparently I know that was a facility that was previously raided by law enforcement and supposedly operatives within the Delta Force. Is that something that you guys believe may be used in criminal activity?
It is on the radar, I would say. I think it's pretty clear. It's obvious that that building harbors some sort of criminal activity. Although that's not my particular sector, I think FBI is working on that one.
FBI. I mean, is there any agents that you would really suggest that we speak to more about the Lopez organization and their findings?
Well, do you know about any ATF agents?
I haven't. I've never spoken to an ATF agent, so I can't say I have or I do now.
I don't think he'd appreciate being sold out, so to speak. So I'm gonna go ahead and plead the fifth on that one.
That's perfectly fine. Um, Something I'd like to ask. I understand the state of San Andreas has had numerous cartels through here. I mean, CJ&G did have a strong presence. Cartel del Golfo, all that sort of
Yep.
stuff. I mean, is there any substantial evidence to prove that San Andreas is still under threat by a cartel?
Well, there are two cartels that I know of that I believe are operating in the state. The ones you just mentioned, I don't believe they're a threat anymore. I haven't heard anything about those two in a while. I'm going to be completely honest. But I would say there are two cartels operating within the state of San Andreas, and they could be of concern.
And sir, are you willing to release the names of these two cartels to the public?
No, I'm going to keep that one pretty quiet for right now because we're still working on it.
That's perfectly fine. And I mean, now more talking about the street gang level. I mean, starting off, I know we have a lot of tension in the world. I mean, you know, specifically the Vespucci area. I understand that a lot of groups stay down there, specifically Bloods, Crips. I mean, is there any evidence that you believe would suggest that there is possibly some sort of gang war that could ensue very soon? Understanding that the crime rates have, I mean, spiked in the past few days.
I haven't really seen any evidence of a gang war down in Vespucci. I don't really spend too much time down there. I have been spending more time recently down there because of certain circumstances, but I don't really feel I don't feel like there's tension enough to result in a gang war.
All
But
right.
you know, you never know what's going on between a couple different factions down there.
And I've heard a lot about specifically the station posted out there. I believe it's going to be close to 6.
Can you say that one more time? Your voice box is kind of.
Yeah, the LTD gas station in Vespucci. I understand there is a lot of tension going on there. It is rumored that members of what they're known as the 1600 Bloods. I know there's been reported several killings, several assaults, robberies. I mean, all sorts of violent crimes. Is that a location that is on the radar of law enforcement?
You talking about the one at 726?
Yes.
Absolutely.
I mean, would you consider that a safe location for civilians or anyone whatsoever?
Absolutely not. As of right now, absolutely not. We've had a few murders down there and some shootings and some robberies. You walk in that place, I mean, it's a 50-50 chance you walk out. That's the true fact of it. Seems like there's always 10 people there, and I would say at least 80% of those people are affiliated and they're looking to cause crime.
8%. Is there any sort of street gang that has especially piqued your personal radar? I know law enforcement just kind of has their eyes in general, but is there any organization on the street level that you believe is a significant threat?
I'm going to plead the fifth on that one.
That's perfectly fine. What do you know about? I know there's some individuals that roam the streets in all different colors, all different flags. I know orange is something that's pretty prevalent. Is there anything that you'd like to comment on regarding that organization? I don't actually quite have a lot of information about them.
No, I think I better keep that quiet for now.
That's fine. And Mr. Hanson, as I did first mention to you, the reason I did contact you was because I've heard pretty prevailing stories about these sort of contributions you've made to, I mean, eradicate crime within on a large scale of organizations. I mean, is there any notable arrests or any notable raids that you would be able to share with us today that you've made in the past?
You mean previous ones?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we just conducted a search warrant up in North Vinewood. I won't specify where, but we were able to get a pretty good informant out of that one, as well as make an apprehension. See, we also made an apprehension on
Someone
an
just took off
individual.
with our car.
Someone took off with your car.
Just
Yeah,
keep
he
it,
had red jeans.
just keep recording. It's fine. It's fine. Go on, Mr. Hanson.
Anyway, we locked up a serial murderer up in Blaine County recently. It was a pretty big case. He led us to a few bodies after his story made no sense. It was a pretty long interrogation on that one. I'll be honest, but he came up with so many different stories and lies, and eventually it just made no sense. So gave it he gave up all his bodies, and we went and dug him up. I specialize in homicide. I don't know if you've heard that or not. I'm not really a gang detective, but sometimes those cases lead me into that, and you can't really ignore it.
Yeah. Was that killer in Blaine County? Do you believe he was associated to any organization?
No, I don't believe so. This was an individual who was conducting murders in Blaine County. Although there are the Skinner brothers. I don't know if you've heard of those. Have
Uh,
you?
I've not. I don't believe I've ever heard of the Skinner brothers. Is there anything you'd like to comment about the Skinner brothers?
Absolutely. The Skinner brothers, they've made the news quite a few times in the past, and they're what I would describe as a serial murderer group that goes around and conducts violent massacres. They usually mutilate the remains of their victims and leave them for us to find, and it's all in the prospect of trying to take over the north sector of the state, which includes Roxwood, Toledo, and now Blaine County. And they've been conducting activities in Los Santos, believe it or not, recently. Pretty formidable group. They typically try to kidnap people around, the U-Tool up there in Blaine County.
Yeah, on the
Heard
freeway.
stories of them. Yeah, I've heard stories of people getting kidnapped or attempted kidnapped up there. And also at the Sandy Motel, I've heard of another incident. Some people in the Toledo Forest. These are just some of the survivors, but it's not very often that survivors make it out. We had somebody go missing. We still haven't found them. We think they washed out to sea somewhere in the Cassidy Creek region, and we were able to identify who we believe is a Skinner brother during that search, but we couldn't hold him.
Sorry, are you suggesting that the Skinner brother that you guys allegedly had caught escaped?
No, he didn't escape. We ended up having to let him go because we couldn't find a body and couldn't prove that he shot at somebody. But that individual will probably be apprehended within the coming weeks, maybe days.
Got it. And do you believe that the Skinner brothers work just by themselves, or do you believe they work with some sort of other organization?
Well, I know that there's an Oracle of the Eclipse group, and I know that's made the news a few times. And they frequented the sewers. However, the DOD ended up raiding that property. I think that raid made the news too. And they are probably looking for a new place to hide out. And if that's the case, I wouldn't be surprised if the two groups, because of their similarities, would link up to try to fulfill both of their goals, so to speak.
And just a few more questions I wanted to ask. Skipping back over towards the criminal organizations, I had previously mentioned Nova Six. Nova Six, correct me if I'm wrong, claims to be a private military company.
Yeah, they're a private military company, but don't think I'm at liberty to talk about anything else regarding them. But they are a private military company of some kind.
That's fair enough.
So,
I think I've pretty much covered everything that I wish to. Mr. Hanson, is there anything that you would like to say to the citizens of San Andreas?
well, be careful and keep your wits about you, I guess, and make sure you're as careful as possible and protect yourself if you are lawfully able to. Try to avoid the 726 gas station.
All right, Mr. Hanson. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time. It's been an honor to speak with you.